like I said, Matthew 25. The ones that are going to be able to have everlasting life and go to the right of God, to his right hand, are going to be the ones that gave the word of faith. And then when they said, you know what, I need clothes. Here is God, that if you're naked, we have a clothing closet. That if you're hungry, we have a food pantry. That if you need a shelter, we have room and boarding houses for you for transitional housing. If you need somewhere to go, this saint, she has a home with 3 rooms and she lives by herself. She'll open up her room to let you stay with her until you get back on your feet. You have a car and it's just sitting in the garage, and this person just so happened to be down on their luck and it's just sitting there. They could use it. You don't have to give it to them. You can let them use it. So God says the things that he blesses us with, if he's blessed us with it, it is not for us. It is for the building up of his kingdom. And a lot of us forget that. So basically we're going to move over to Exodus 15:22 through 27. And basically when you read there, it's Moses. He's a leader who listened to God's voice and obeyed the commands of God. His actions in faith saved his people. And what I'm talking about is the waters of Morah and Elam. It says, then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. Verse 23. When they came to Marah, which means bitter, they could not drink the waters because it was bitter. This is why the place was called Marah. So they grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord. And the Lord showed Moses a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became fit to drink. There the Lord issued a ruling and instruction for them and put them to the test. He said, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you all the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elam, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the waters. Basically what you have here is, because there are such wicked leaders right now, that they're not after the heart of God. They don't really care for God's people. They don't have a travailing spirit to cry out on behalf of the people. They're not in worship. They're not trying to sit down and listen to what God has to say. They're trying to build up their plan and trying to go about it however they can to build up this plan, not knowing that God moves by his spirit. And sometimes, you might begin a certain way and you might think it's supposed to come about a certain way, but God may have started it, but he may be taking you in a different way than you think he may be taking you. And you think he's coming to bless you in one way to bring about your vision, but he's coming a whole different way in the spirit to bless you in your vision. And you have to be able to hear God through worship, through sitting still, through crying out for his people, to hear the instructions of God as to how to go about taking care of his people, because that is what it's all about. When you are a priest or a prophet, you're not there to take care of the vain things that you see that you want. You're there to take care of God's people. He said, if you love me, feed my sheep. So he's not saying, if you love me, make a big church for my people. He said, if you love me, feed my sheep. So therefore, he's saying, take care of my sheep, not take care of a building. So basically, in that day and time, Moses was a leader who loved the people, who had a heart for the people, and he was able to hear the strategies of God. It says here that he sent his word in Psalms 107:20. If we move over to Psalms 107 verse 20, it says, he sent his word. God sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destruction. He sent his word, his command, his acts. Psalms 103 says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. And when I looked that up, it says he made known. It means he showed, he taught Moses, he instructed Moses, he gave the skill to do a thing to Moses. He gave Moses the know-how. He gave Moses knowledge. He gave Moses wisdom. He also gave Moses the experience he needed. And then when I looked up what does acts mean, his acts, it says he made known is one thing, but then he said he made known his ways unto Moses. His acts means his ways, his works, his deeds, his inventions. So God will show you a witty invention. God will show you how to deliver his people out of destruction if that leader cares and has a heart for God's people to bring them forth out of their destruction. But if their only thing is focusing on the big building being built, bigger places and bigger this, and they not hearing that the cry of God's people, the cry of God's people, they're not hearing that, how are they going to hear how to bring God's people out of destruction? And so basically it says, if there's a leader in the land who will cry out and hear the voice and walk in his ways, be sent and do the work of God. And basically I'm going to move over into what I'm talking about when it comes to the power of what we eat and what we drink. After we gain control or self-control over lust and over lying and fornication and anger and gossiping and self-control over self-worship and thinking too high of oneself, what is left for many of us is gluttony, overeating. And God also showed me a part of this thing of vanity is gluttony. Gluttony is the need for too much. So what happened is God is also revealing to me that even though some of us are getting away from gluttony of having to have the big house and the big car and the biggest congregation and things like, some of us are getting away from that, or God is pulling us away from it. God is shaking us out of it if we didn't want to come. A lot of time what is left is gluttony, overeating, which is like the baby of greed when it comes to things. Those things that may have been shaken away from us, but now the only thing that may be left now for many of God's people is gluttony, and that is a place of destruction for many of us, because God said that to me that health-related issues are coming about from being overweight, that is getting ready or is taking God's people and putting them completely on their backs or taking them completely out of here before they're able to fulfill their destiny. And we have to know that this is an attack of the enemy. This is a point of destruction. And we have to have leaders that understand that God wants us to prosper in our spirit and in our health. And God needs to they need to listen that God sends strategies to deliver his people out of destruction. And sometimes it may be the tree that he puts into the waters that makes it good for them to drink so that they can be delivered out of destruction. And God will sometimes show people witty inventions on how to do that. And see, we have to understand that not everybody is called to be a Levi. Some of us is called to be within the tribe of Judah. Some of us is called to be in the tribe of Issachar. Everybody has their own ways. We're all one body. Some are the arms, some are the hands, some are the legs, some are the neck, the back, the feet. We all have our parts to play. There's the priest, the prophet, the teacher, the evangelist, the apostle. We all have our parts to play, and we all are here to build up the body. But so many times, if you're not coming as a pastor or this, that, or the other, a lot of times they cannot hear that God comes and with different people that he has sent for such a time as this. So anyway, eating and drinking is a problem, and it is essential. It is an essential function of our bodies. We must do it to live. It is what sustains our life. But one thing that we must conquer is what we eat and drink. Jesus let the devil know, my body, my flesh, my stomach is not the Lord of me. It is not my king. Jesus fasted 40 days and 40 nights and told Satan, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Matthew 4:4. What we eat and what we drink. Eating and drinking is a stronghold for many of us because it is the life source to our flesh. We eat and drink to live. We have to understand the power in what we eat and drink. There is power in eating and drinking. Satan knows this, and so eating and drinking can be a stronghold again for many of us. One question is your flesh, your stomach, is it your God? Because that means you've been given over to gluttony.